Hi, I'm Rahul Menon, representing BDS Estate, Gurugram. As a real estate market analyst, I have assessed of late, as of today, our housing has become a psychological trap. Gurugram today is not facing a conventional real estate slowdown or correction. What it is facing is something far more complex, a systemic distortion of how housing is sold, perceived, and psychologically consumed. Over the past decade, sections of the real estate ecosystem have shifted away from serving end-user housing needs and toward manufacturing speculative demand. Price discovery is no longer organic. It is staged, launches are choreographed, inventory is released strategically. Payment plans are engineered, not to reduce buyers' risk, but to sustain developers' liquidity. On paper, many of these practices appear compliant, but when we examine them through the lens of regulation, particularly RERA, the Consumer Protection Act, and digital communication laws, a different picture emerges. RERA was designed to bring transparency, truth in advertising, and risk balance into the system. Yet what we increasingly see is a gap between registered disclosures and promotional narratives. Attractive subvention schemes, deferred payments, and assured messaging are pushed aggressively, while construction risk, approval dependencies, and delivery uncertainty remain buried in fine print. This is not just a contractual issue, it is a regulatory to intent issue. Under consumer protection law, misleading advertisements and unfair trade practices are not limited to false statements alone. They also include creating artificial urgency, exaggerating scarcity, and inducing fear of missing out. When aspirational buyers are repeatedly told that prices will never be this low again, or that supply is almost sold out, decision-making shifts from rational assessment to anxiety management. And then comes the third layer, the most invisible one, the sheer volume of unsolicited calls, messages, and digital promotions. This is not benign marketing. It is persistent psychological nudging. Personal numbers circulate through broker networks, call centers, and digital platforms with little traceability or consent. The result is decision fatigue, emotional stress, and a sense that opting out is not an option. At that point, housing stops being a choice. It becomes pressure. What makes this most concerning is the risk asymmetrically transferred. Developers protect cash flows, brokers earn commissions, platforms earn traffic, but the buyer absorbs the construction and financing risk, besides the psychological burden. Regulations exist, but enforcement remains so fragmented. RERA looks at projects, consumer authorities look at complaints, telecom and IT regulators look at spam and data, often in isolation. What's missing is an integrated view of market behavior, not just legal compliance. Unless promotional practices, payment structures, and data usage are examined together, we risk normalizing a system where demand as manufactured, consent is diluted, and trust slowly erodes. Housing cannot be allowed to become a fear-driven financial product. It is a social and economic necessity. And unless regulation begins to address not just violations, but behavioral manipulation, a cost won't be measured only in delayed projects or financial losses, but in the quiet erosion of consumer confidence itself. That perhaps is the real crisis in Gurugram's real estate market.